Adwa TV, bringing good things to life.
So thanks so much for joining us tonight. It's Regulators here on Adwa Television. My name is Naa Afarley Quarcoo, and of course go onto Facebook. You can find us there. Don't forget to share with your friends and also give us your comments and what you think you can ask us. We'll be here to answer. Tonight on Regulators, we are continuing our discussions with the Food and Beverage Association. So Mr. Sam Agri is here. He will walk us through again. We'll ask some questions concerning or pertaining to the alcoholic content we see on TV. You realize that nowadays or these days you don't see them in the morning, you only see them at night. The reason why it is so. We'll talk also about some energy drink issues. We'll also discuss the issue of the 50% benchmark discount by government and what it could do or what it could do to that sector. We'll also discuss some issues on the new tax system and then the importation of rice as well as the Ghana Rice Project. We are talking about food and beverages, of course. We'll bring that on board. We'll also talk about the beverage awards in Ghana, what it takes for you to be on that list, and then we'll find out more as well. So tonight, this is what we are discussing. I hope that you would find a place, enjoy this conversation, and of course ask questions. Yes, send us your comments, your contributions and your suggestions, and we'll be here to answer them for you. Last week I had a couple of comments and I would ask those questions before we start, but let's go for a quick turn. When we come back, we'll continue shortly.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Naa Afarley Quarcoo. I'm joined by Mr. Sam Agri. He's the Executive Secretary for Food and Beverage Association of Ghana. Hello, sir. Thanks so much for coming again.
Thank you.
Okay. So can you give us a brief of what we discussed last week so that our viewers who couldn't watch would also have a brief idea of what we're discussing tonight.
The discussion went as to whether the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana do regulate issues, but we are not regulators. The regulator is the FDA, the Food and Drugs Authority. What we do is to give support services and then collaborate with them on certain issues, especially when they want to pass a new FDA policy or whatever they want to do. We also give them support services. If they want to pass any regulations that has to do with international regulations,
standards, something. Okay.
We are there also to help. So basically, that is the Food and Beverage Association. And then also we spoke about the benchmark value, which we needed to congratulate government for
that.
Suspending it until further engagements are done. So these are some of the areas that we look at it. And then we look at the consumption pattern of our populace, how we consume products without looking at the dates, and then looking at the affected product as it is. And then we end up blaming either the retailer or the manufacturer, which wasn't in place. So if we cast our mind back, I think these are the areas that are most important that we need to look at, and then we move forward with it.
Okay, thank you so much. But who qualifies to be a member of your association?
The association, anybody can be a member, but then there are other regulations that we would then have to do, because once you apply to be a member, we look at the background of the company, what you do, and whether you conform to all the regulations and the standards of Ghana registered companies, and then also whether you truly comply with these institutions. These are some of the things that we look at, and then we look at whether that company is able to accept change, because almost every policy that is introduced by government, if we infuse it into our day-to-day activity, definitely you would then have to also accept that change. So if you don't do that, what it means is that you will not be abreast with what is going on, and then either you are fighting against government if it comes to regulations and other things. So we look at whether the company basically is compliance to state laws.
Okay, so what are some of the common state laws that every company should comply with?
Yes, we have business regulations that you need to adhere to. If you are a manufacturer, we look at whether you are environmentally compliant. We look at whether you practice GMP, that is a good manufacturing practices. We look at that, and then we also look at your relationship with consumers, and then how consumers also take your products and all that. So these are some of the things that we look at. And then if, as a company, whether you also abreast with your taxes and all that, because it will not be in our interest for you to join the association and then the next day we see you fold up. That is not the best. So that is how we look at the issues of compliance.
Thank you so much. But when we are talking about, or when we talk about beverage, we're talking about both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. We realized that over a certain period, the alcoholic beverage adverts have been pulled off during the day, and we only see it at night. What was the discussion about, and why the sudden change?
Well, if you look at the background of it, actually, alcohol is not produced for underage. Now, if you have children between 12 and 16 watching television almost during the prime time, and instead of being in bed, they'll be looking at certain things that is not advisable for them. So if you look at the label on alcoholic beverages, it's clearly stated that if you're a pregnant woman a lactating mother or under age of 18, you cannot patronize this product. So it is with the adverts that we've been having. Actually, when this law was supposed to come into effect, there was a lot of challenges if it comes to manufacturers and also the FDA at that time. But then consumers and certain parents also did complain. And therefore, if you look at the way the thing is structured, then obviously we need to see to it that certain things are modified. And so if you look at the prime hours between 7 and 8, these are the times that most people will be going to bed, especially the children. So if you put your adverts during that time, you'll be on the safe side in terms of whom you communicate to. Because these are the times that we also sit behind the television and we're listening to news and other things. So if that information is coming, then it has to be with consent of adulthood. And most people who sit behind the television at this hour are people who really knows what they're about. And therefore, it's okay for that advert to run from 8 to whatever time that the television goes silent. So these are the reasons why, because we don't want to, or the advert is not targeted towards children, but then the adulthood.
So would you say industry players are getting value for their money or for the products that they produce?
Of course, because when you put any product out there, you should be ready to face the consequences that comes, and the good of it and the bad side of it. So for the good side of it, who are our target audience that we want to look at? We have to look at all those criteria and then see which one benefits the manufacturer. And therefore, if you're a manufacturer, the only interest, if you are not producing soft drink and producing alcoholic beverages, the only interest is your adult age and those who are past the age of 18 who really want to pick up certain lives and all that. But as a manufacturer, you don't put a product out there and then your target market is the youth. But then those who are past the youth age to manhood, that is where they look at. So they will not deliberately put up a product that will affect society, because if you look at the norms and practices of our society, it's well preserved and maintained. And therefore, if you come into that light, what will happen is that you need, as a manufacturer or as a society, accept the norms of the society that we are living in. Because ours, in this part of the world, is based on cultural sentiments, and therefore we wouldn't want to also violate that if it comes to practice in business. And therefore the regulator will also look at what you are putting in place to ensure that we don't dilute the system, but keep going as a company.
Okay, you keep hammering on culture and then doing what is right, but I would ask you, which category do you place energy drinks? These are some of the questions that came in last week.
You see, energy drink, the name itself tells you what it is. And therefore, one will expect that when you are down, that is the time that perhaps you would want to take energy drink just to boost up the ego that you have. But unfortunately, some tend to drink it as a soft drink. Energy drink is not a soft drink that we need to drink it frequently. You see, even the normal soft drinks, when you drink it too much, it becomes an abuse. Yeah, but then we can relate that to the energy drink. Energy drinks, some become addictive to it. Some also
Is it because of its content?
Yeah, because of the content. And because if it gives you strength, you would always want to go for that which you will have your strength to go. And the excessive abuse of that becomes a problem. Others also react to the ingredient that has been put in there, especially two main ingredients, that's the caffeine and the taurine. So if you are buying an energy drink and you see this product in there, you should ask yourself, when I drink, what happens? Sometimes the caffeine will give you heart palpitation when you don't even know. But the very moment you start drinking, you realize that, no, these are the reactions that I have. It tells you that that is not the way to go. You have to stop, because it's a personal feeling that you might have. Someone may drink without having any problem at all. So in effect, the only thing that we need not to do, we can consume, but not to consume in excess or become addictive to energy drink.
Okay, but can't we base our argument on this to regulate it? In the sense that you would sit in a church or a bus, you realize that someone, I don't want to mention brand names, but someone may just sit, call the drink seller or whoever is selling it, buy a bottle of, I don't want to mention, I'm just tempted to mention, and then buy a puff puff or buffaloaf, and then start enjoying with a particular energy drink. Can't we base our argument on this and regulate it properly?
The regulator, if it sees anything wrong, will definitely come out.
So we are saying that there's nothing wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong, but then don't consume it in excess. You see, as in everything that you consume, if you take it in excess, you abuse the system, or your very system that you are consuming the product into. So it's not something that you have to take to say, I want to have a drink, so I'll go and buy energy drink. You need to also look at it, what the name itself is captioned. You see. So we take that relief from the name itself. And so therefore, some of them are produced closely to other soft drinks. And therefore, consumption, they will say, oh, for this one, consumption is okay, it's not, but please, not in excess.
So what is a rate at which one can be very addicted to such products?
Like, you don't want to mention names, but then there are certain products, when you take it too much and you become addictive, you will not be able to stop.
Okay.
It gives you certain reactions that perhaps you cannot control as a human being. Some of them may lead you to obesity.
Okay.
I can only use sugar, which is commonly known, and it doesn't belong to any particular manufacturer. But when the sugar consumption goes up, we know what it leads to. Diabetes and obesity and other things that we cannot control. And so therefore, if we take it in moderation, it will help you to live the way you have to live. And we are not saying that don't consume any other drink. Consume, but consume that in moderation. You see, because everything too much may lead you to other places that you wouldn't want to. Because medically, they are not telling you don't drink. Drink, but drink it in moderation.
Now, we've talked about the beverage aspect. Every beverage is either packaged in a can or in a plastic bottle. How do we rid the country of the huge plastic waste we see?
That's a very good question there. Now, fortunately for Ghana, we are seeing more recycling plants coming up.
Yet we find them in our gutters.
And the Food and Beverage Association itself is also, in conjunction with other stakeholders, are doing what it takes to ensure that whatever that goes into the system, we're able to turn them around and then reuse the plastic. Those that cannot be used for consumables are then turned into other materials that can become necessary of the environment. And if you look at importation, for instance, most of the things that come in, you ask yourself, where do they go? And this, the EPA has a system of mopping up, or when these products come back to them, they're able to, because let me say, they are working through other collectible agencies that goes for these particular materials. they collect them, they sell it to a particular agency, and then they also put it into
bowls,
processing and all that. But the most important thing is that whatever is coming into the country, if you take a canned product, for instance, most of the canned product that we have is either made of steel or aluminium. You see. Now, the aluminium products, we are able to turn them around. Other people are there collecting them and melting them into aluminium use and all that. So we have a plan for those ones.
Okay.
And then if it comes to plastics, plastics has been the most dangerous product that we have within our environment, because if they don't end up in the right places, what happens is that they could hurt us in so many ways, especially within the ocean. And therefore, the concept of looking at how we collect those things from us basically would depend on the consumer. Because most of the times, what happens is that we consume the product and then we leave it in the gutters or at our backyard, where the rain
We'll take them
could
back
push
into
this
the
into the drains and then end up in the sea. Now, if you go to the beaches, we have people who work on them because they see the value for the empty collection that they do. Yeah. Because you see, the collection itself, you have to collect so many bottles
and then
before.
Wait to get.
And anytime that it rains, unfortunately, when you go to our beaches, it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
You see. And this is where we will plead with consumers. The very moment you take a bottle and you drink it, please don't leave it anyhow. Keep it in your home and then dispose it appropriately, so that when it rains, it doesn't end up in our beaches and other places where we'll find it difficult to recycle. Because in that area, especially the plastic bottles, in fact, I must say this, that the Food and Beverage Association, we're working with the Ministry of Environment and other places where we have a concept that perhaps I may have to say that when we finish, we may put it before them. Every bottle that goes, every bottle that goes out there, we have to get or placed on it a token for returnables.
Okay. So
we reduce drastically the impact of those plastics that are hurting the environment. So if a manufacturer uses any plastic PVC or let me say PET bottles, what happens is that when it goes out there for the consumer to consume whatever it is, it behoves on you to keep that bottle over a period, return it to a collective center, and then whatever be the refund, they will be giving it to you. Even when you do that and you have 1 CD or 2 CDs over a quantity of bottles that you return.
But you see,
it's a lot of money.
Then we need to get vantage points.
Yes.
Because if let's say this particular place or institution I'm supposed to drop this bottle at, I'm actually coming from, let's say, Legon, and I'm supposed to drop off this bottle around, let's say, the Accra High.
You wouldn't need to travel with your bottles.
Okay.
Because there will be a collection center closer to you. Either the vans will come and collect them,
okay,
or the tricycles who have been buying this steel that have been dropping over the grounds and all that. So certainly we have people who then invest also in that area, where they will come to buy those plastics and send them to the appropriate places for the necessary recycle to be done.
But will producers or manufacturers be taxed with a particular levy to help in this regard?
The manufacturers of these PET bottles are heavily taxed for what they produced, because they have to use that money to clean the environment. You understand?
Okay.
So that money is being collected by EPA through importation, through manufacturing, and through the plastic producers. Now, unfortunately, I must say that this money is not being utilized. They are sitting billions of cedis elsewhere, and government is using it for free. It's now that agencies are coming up and working in collaboration with the environmental ministry, trying to find out how best they could access these funds for them to be able to use it for this recycling or whatever means that will come up. Unfortunately, those on the ground working on these collectibles, it's either the manufacturer will then have to pay them or donate some money to them for them to be able to continue doing what they are doing. And if we will continue doing that, it becomes a problem. Because the assemblies are there. Monies are collected on behalf of these manufacturers, and they're sitting in the metropolitan accounts or government accounts, and we are not utilizing them. We need to put them out there to ensure that the proper thing is done. Maybe if we have to do that through the assemblies, then certain criteria would then also have to come in, because there are so many ways we can deal with this situation that wouldn't have that impact of environmental disaster within ours. The assemblies can go ahead and then set up maybe a competition among themselves where they collect disposal and then have a cleaner environment. So if the Ministry of Environment can then assess by district, by the assembly, by the district, as to how they are keeping the environment clean and all that, we will go a long way to deal with this situation. So it's a positive call. We need to do something about it, because for now, even though there are mechanisms in place in recalling these bottles and all that, we are still not doing enough.
The government spends huge amount of money to dredge the lagoon, the Kole Lagoon, because most of the filth ends up there. Now, is there a way, or would we get to a point as a country where most of these PET bottles will be biodegradable? Would we get there?
Now, most of the bottles that are coming up, the reason why they are recyclable is because there are bioproducts in there. Now, there are microns that they use in producing these bottles.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in Ghana, the more you produce with these macrons, the more expensive the bottles are. But if that is the way we need to go, then our manufacturers would then have to put more in the capsules that they use for this manufacturing. So that at the end of the day, these bottles, when they come back, we are able to recycle them and reuse it. I would say and give kudos to a company that I'll mention the name, Blochem, on this program. Yeah. I would say they've taken the lead in doing that, and they need to be congratulated, because now every bottle that is coming up side by side is written recyclable bottle.
There's a green side
that tell
on
you
each bottle.
that it's bottles that you can use. Recycling doesn't mean that the bottle that have been used is what is being cleaned for filling of water. They reprocess the bottles.
Thank you for correcting that.
Yeah, they reprocess the bottles and then put them back into capsules and then blow them into bottles for filling. So that is how almost every manufacturer of this PET users are trying to do. And very soon, Ghana will go green in the area. So when you go out there and you see bottles that are recycled, don't say it's a bottle that has been used by someone. No, because most of these bottles that even comes into this country, when you look at it, at the base of it, it's written clearly, recycled material. And in the UK, if you are not producing drinks in the recycled material, nobody buys it. So you see where we are going to. So we are copying from international or the global manufacturing concepts, where we then have to use recycled materials in producing our, because if we don't do that, at the end of the day, those bottles, where would they end up? And what problem are we causing to our environment? So these are the areas that we are looking at, and therefore we'll fight that one. It's also another war. I would say it's a war that we need to fight because it affects our environment drastically, and we need to do something about it.
Is the education enough? In the sense that if not for the fact that I am a journalist or in this field of work, I wouldn't pick a bottle of whatever water and read the rubber or something surrounding it. I would hardly read. A lay person would hardly read. Is the education enough to tell people what is actually going on?
Okay. When we say Ghana going green, or the manufacturer tells you that Ghana is going green, or the manufacturer itself tells you that I am going green, what it means is that the bottle that you pick up, if you can't read, you will see the colors. Okay? Now, either to the bottles that comes in, there are so many inscriptions on them, and you see a sign that goes round, arrow, that goes round, that is...
but how would a lay person understand that there's a sign going round that tells you to recycle?
On the label, even if you can't read, that sign alone should tell you that this bottle is recyclable.
Oh, we are talking about someone far away from Accra, someone in a zone that hardly gets these things, and then has this one.
Perhaps the audio adverts is what will help such people, and then television adverts that we've been seeing and all that will be something that will help. So perhaps maybe the manufacturers, what I would recommend is that we need to come up with adverts that will go in sync with our normal adverts, that people will see that this is what you are doing, and therefore it's acceptable for you to consume such a product and all that.
Okay.
So maybe we need to put in a little more to ensure that the consumers also understand what is going on, because some of them, like I'm saying, if you see the green, it tells you what the color, whatever color that goes in there,
tells you what to do.
It tells you what to do. But if you don't understand it, maybe the audio and television adverts will help a lot.
All right. Thank you so much for this explanation. But after the break, we'll come back and discuss the Ghana Rice Project, the new tax system, and the 50% benchmark discount by government. Do stay with us.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with RwandAir today. RwandAir, the safest airline in Africa.
RwandAir, fly the dream of Africa.
Thanks so much for staying with us throughout. This is just the last bit of it. Now, sir, what is happening to the Ghana Rice project? We want to stop importation of foreign rice, yet our own brand is not really standing.
Ghana Rice,
My taste nice.
it has a big history.
Okay.
And it has to be told, but I don't think we have that platform. But let me just give you
A brief
a brief of it and where we are. In fact, I would say in 2019, when the ministry decided that they were going to ban importation of rice, and the news hit us. But when it hit us, we said, but looking at all the odds, is Ghana ready to take the Ghana rice head on? So we look at the figures that are being produced and what is also packaged for sale, and realize that the ministry has plans to actually expand the rice production in this country. And then we also look at the imports as to how it's coming in and all that. So we look at it and you see that Ghana spends a lot of foreign exchange in importing this rice. Now the imports of this imported rice as against the local production, there's so much huge gap.
Okay.
That we need
in terms of the quality?
Yeah, if you look at it, Ghana was then importing almost about 800,000 or 1.2 million tons of rice, whilst our production was barely below 400,000 metric tons. And if every year we need to bring in 1.2 million metric tons of rice, and you look at the production, then that gap, how are you going to fill it?
Okay.
Unless we scale up our production before we'll be able to meet that. And
the target.
if we look at the kind of investment that we have at this time, it will take us a longer time to reach the production level. And so we went to the ministry, we had a discussion, and we said we have a solution to this Ghana rice. But until we get there, we then have to hasten slowly to ensure that we're able to produce enough to take over the imported rice. So the import itself, it will still come. The local rice, people will then will travel and they want to bring in a few for their home consumption and all that. Actually, this is what is happening. They bring in for home consumption, but they end up in the market. And then we have those who are also bringing in volumes, in shiploads of volumes that we sell in the market. So we said, okay, perhaps in order to scale down the importation, what we need to do is to produce the Ghana rice. These very merchants or the marketers who do import the rice, what we then they will have to do is to buy a percentage of the local rice. You see, so if they are bringing 10 tons of rice, they have to reduce it to 8 or 6 and buy 4 or 2 tons of the Ghana rice to replace the gap until gradually we come down. And once we are doing that, those who are importing, you are not taking their business from them. But then you are gradually also replacing what they have. And then they will continue being business. So the farmers will produce, the millers will mill, and the marketers will also
have their business.
Do that. But unfortunately, we are facing a challenge in that area. Because if you look at the membership of FABAC, before you do any imports, what we have to do is to see your local content.
Okay.
You see? And when you do that, we give the evidence to the ministry before your permit is given. So you cannot bring in rice without having those permits granted, without buying local rice for sale. So we do that deliberately to ensure that the Ghana rice also succeed. So when you look at the pattern of imports, for instance, most of these importers who doesn't belong to our association bring in rice that we don't know whether they take in the local content or not. And this will have to be checked by the Ministry of Agric and then the PPRSD, where they've been given permits or giving instant permit at the port and they bring it. So if you don't have the local content, what it means is that even when you import your rice, the rice will have to stay there and decay because we need to buy the local rice to augment that differences. So once you are selling your imported rice, you sell the local rice alongside.
Okay.
My members are complying, but we have people or importers who are not complying with this directive. And therefore, maybe this year is something that is on my heart to discuss with the ministry to ensure that we reach there, because scaling down the import of rice will soon get there. But then we need to invest more in the production of our local rice. Recently, we see Nigeria boasting of pyramid rice because they have produced and displayed them into pyramid shapes all over Nigeria. And you see, if we are not careful, what will happen is that this rice will end up in our local markets and our farmers will be the losers. You see. So if Nigeria is producing this, we should thank God they are through to sufficiency. Now we should also look at Ghana. How much people has money that they can invest in that area. The ministry can sit down with them, invest in this. These are the incentives that I will be given to you if you invest in this area, so that we have a holistic approach towards the production of this rice. The farmers will produce, the millers will mill, and we will also do the marketing for them. If we were able to enforce this, I'm sure in no time, importation of rice will reduce drastically. And the farmers in Ghana will also make the necessary money that we are all crying for them to do. But unfortunately, in Ghana, I say that we need to produce about 1 million tons of rice as reserve.
Okay.
You see, 1 million tons of paddy rice, unprocessed rice. Put them in silos where we can then monitor what comes in and what goes out. So if our first year of two production goes into silos, as we are reducing gradually, goes into silos, and then the new harvest comes, we release the old one, we put the new one there, and then gradually the cycle continues. But unfortunately, we don't have the silos in place. And we are talking of Ghana being sufficient in rice production. We don't have enough irrigation areas where we can turn rice into proper productive areas, especially if you look at the south of Ghana. We have the Water River going, tons of liters going into the sea. We can expand the whole of water region areas and then push the rice production in this area. If they must be the hub of Ghana, let it be so. Because you see, the good news about Ghana is that the rice, or let me say the Agri Research Department that works on the rice species, they are producing good rice which is comparatively the same as what is being produced abroad. We are growing jasmine rice in Ghana, and it's very good. When you look at the taste, it's very good. But what we need to do, perhaps maybe the dryness a little bit. And then we look at it, because most of the times, what is also hindering that aspect of the growth is that when people produce, they want to have their own bags, put them inside and put it on the market and sell as imported rice. You see, because of the quality that we have. But what we need to do, no matter what the quality is, it should be cheaper than the imported one. And then we should have the machines that perhaps when you eat the Ghana rice, you don't, as you are chewing, you'll be chewing stones and all that. If you look at what we have today, they are producing very quality rice.
So we need to pick
that you cannot tell which is imported and which is a local.
Okay.
Except that the dryness, you can easily tell where the quality, the dryness falls in. Where you can tell, Ghana, this is Ghana. Right. So I would say to our farmers, they have a future. And in future, more people will be going into that production. And the ministry will also have to do more by luring these people or our rich people. They have the money, they want to invest, but what do they get in return? These are the things that we need to look at. So if they know investing in this area, the returns are good, obviously they will be giving out their money to the farmers to produce, putting up the irrigation fields, and then the incentives go to them. At the end of the day, it's the ministry that benefits. And then we know that the target that we set before us has been achieved.
Can we do the same with tomato paste in this country?
Tomato, we can. You see, there's nothing impossible.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and the good side is that we have factories sprung up almost every corner in this country. Huge factories that are bringing in tomato paste to come and process them, can them in Ghana. Why do we have to go that way? How many years are they bringing the paste into Ghana? So what we have to do, the farmers that goes into this area, the irrigation farms should be there. We should have an all year round production. Cycle. You see? So the farmers must be given the quality seeds that when they produce it can feed these factories. Unfortunately, we don't have them. Unfortunately, we don't have the farms that can feed a single factory in this country. Okay. You see, and the tomatoes that they are producing are not the quality that the factories will use. Because you see, we need to grow tomatoes that has very low in viscosity. What I mean, the water content should be very low. So when you take one tomato, you can see the chaff. You can feel it. When you squeeze it, it should be very difficult for water to be dripping. You see. So when you process such a tomato, the factories will then be able to take them and feed them into their factories for production. That is when we say we are doing made in Ghana tomato. Then it means that from the farm to the factory. But we don't import the paste because what we have done now is that import the paste and feed them into the cans that or the things that we are doing, and then sell them into the Ghanaian public. We have to go beyond that because for now there is a challenge. As moving forward, we should have a plan that in the next 2 years or the next 6 months, these are the things that we are going to do, and therefore the import of tomato paste will then shut down, and then our local farmers can produce all year round and feed these factories as a way forward.
Interesting. This is a good one. But what is a new tax system and then the 50% benchmark discount?
Let me take the benchmark first.
Okay.
And then you see, all that the benchmark seeks to do was for government to raise more revenue, and therefore they were looking at that area where discount has been given, and therefore they needed to take it back, so that you take it back and then you roll in the necessary revenue. But you see, when you look at the government tax structure itself, the way it is, since the 50% discount was given, there's been so many taxes introduced at the port already, which somehow has going to affect where perhaps one would say that prices would have gone down for consumers. But if you look at the import prices that are coming in, it's the same. It has come to stabilize the system. You see. So unfortunately, what we are saying is that when government is going back to take that back 50% for the importers to pay, unfortunately what will happen is that we will be passing on this cost to the consumer. At this time, people are hard pressed with current money. And therefore, if we are not careful, we will make more people poorer than we thought. And if you look at the cost itself, 50% of an import, what it means is that your duty, that either you pay 50,000 and you pay 100,000. If you pay 100,000, you pay 200,000. You see, you pay 150,000. And what will happen is that people will then have to struggle with the money that they need to pay. Let me tell you, in this era, as we see it, so many taxes have been introduced, but we are looking at the benchmark, which maybe either government will bring it or not. Last time I told you that we look at the figures and we say that we want to safeguard industry. But benchmark has nothing to do with industry. It's about government wanting to raise more revenue at the expense of the consumer and then the Ghanaian. But industry has its own particular problem that we need to deal with. And therefore, we have to look at that side as an industry. And then look at the benchmark itself, whether we really want it to come as a country. When it comes, what it means is that your products on the table will go up by 25%.
Okay.
That one put aside. Now you have your VAT, which no one is talking about, also increased about 2%.
Wow.
You see, which no one is talking about. And this is where people are going to pay more. And if you are not careful, most people will then have to say either they will have to rethink again whether they will still want to be in business or not. Because the consumer, if you import and nobody is buying, what it means is that to run down. You see, you have the e-levy, which is also coming in. Look, I wouldn't want to mention them, but in Africa here, just last year, they wanted to introduce this e-levy, 0.2%. 0.2%. The whole country stood up against it, and it was shut down. Ours, we want to raise it 1.7%. We are not saying don't bring it. If you want to, that is the way we need to raise revenue. Let it be. But then, as we are saying we cannot pay, bring it down, even at 0.5%.
Okay.
People will then be comfortable and nobody will talk about it. It will let it go, and it will go. When the COVID tax came, we know that COVID tax shouldn't have come at all. But then you also look at the freebies that you enjoyed earlier. So the very moment this thing came, everybody kept quiet. So if you want to bring in the 1.75, we are saying it's too much. Bring it down, and then let's see.
Let us work with it.
Because after all, when we are implementing the 1.5%, you think it's more money, but it's a lot of money. Over the years, when you finish and you realize how much you have paid through your transactions, and then if you are an importer and you are going to the bank to pay your duties, your e-levy transactions will also hit you at 1.7%. And therefore, where are you going to take that money from? You have to look elsewhere to take that money. So all these taxes compounded on the products that will be delivered to the Ghanaian. Of course, from next month going, or as early as March, nobody should blame any importer or even a manufacturer.
So you are going. You are saying that prices of goods would shoot up.
Exactly.
So if you are buying something at 20 cedis, you are going to buy it probably at 28 or 25 cedis.
It could be.
Okay.
It could be because we have set the pace because in this country nothing goes up by pesos.
Okay. So now, we can't do away with food and beverage. Yeah. How do we survive in this era?
That is why you have to struggle to survive. You see, on every imported goods, because you see, even the farmer, when they produce, they know when seasons are hard and they increase their wares. You see, so if you are importing goods, what it means is that you need to pay more for those products. If you are manufacturing locally, it's not that importers would have to pay more, but then you also pay more through your tax system, because the ministry announced that if you are a trader and you have 200,000 as your turnover, That is when you don't pay certain taxes. But anything beyond 500,000,
You would pay.
you have to pay. So between 200,000
And
up to 500,000 and beyond. Just imagine how many companies that do only 200,000. It means that virtually everybody will be caught in the net. And we have to pay whether we like it or not. That is the norm of the. So the e-levy, perhaps looking at the other areas that they are saying we should bring it down. If we don't look at that areas and that one comes in, no problem. You can decide not to do e-levy, and the government will not get that money, or you will not lose that money going forward. But then, if you consider the other taxes that are coming, everybody is a payer. That is how it is. So
myself and yourself included.
Sorry. If we are bringing this on board, that is when the agitation of the civil servants will come in, because their money will be so limited. Because you see, in this country, everything that we do, we pledge it against the dollar. Now, anytime the dollar goes up, your very income goes down. At any given time, the cedi goes up. And unfortunately, it's the Bank of Ghana that dictates whether we want to pay more or want to pay less. So every Monday, they decide whether they want to add 10 pesos or 20 pesos.
Interesting, say. I think that with the issuance of the e-levy, everybody needs to scale up to meet their target.
You see.
So our food and beverage is going to work. Thank you so much for your time and for your education. Thank you so much for you who sat at home, wherever you found yourself tonight. You listened to us, you watched us, you sent in your comments, your contributions. Thank you so much to my production team as well, Lester, Ransford, Jonathan, and my sound guys. So thank you so much for your time and for making this show a success. Thank you so much. I'll come your way same time next week, Monday. Before then, enjoy the rest of our programs.